Grisha is a 27-year-old spoiled son of a Russian oligarch, Pavel. He's brash, arrogant, and rude to everyone he meets. In a club, Grisha tries hitting on a beautiful girl named Anfisa. She laughs at his cliché, so he offers her an original drink, which he takes from the bottom of the glass pyramid, destroying the structure and creating a scene. He gives Anfisa one glass, saying no other girl has the same drink as hers. This finally impresses the girl, and they leave. Later, in his fancy car, Grisha demands Anfisa to get intimate with him as payment before taking her home. When Anfisa refuses, he kicks her out and returns home. On his way, he drives beyond the speed limit, prompting a police car to pull him over. He isn't afraid of the law and initially tries to escape. But when the police officer threatens to use their weapons, he begrudgingly pulls over. He immediately pulls out his wallet and takes out a bill, but the police officer doesn't accept it. The officer introduces himself as Captain Semyonov. Realizing he's a captain, Grisha adds more money and throws them at him, then tries to drive off. But the captain stops him by going to the front of the car and jumping on its hood. However, Grisha doesn't care and continues to speed off despite the officer ordering him to stop. Eventually, they get into an accident, and Semyonov is critically injured. They take Grisha into custody, and his father arrives at the police station. The station chief is Pavel's friend, and he reminds him of all the destruction Grisha has caused over the past few months. The chief also tells him this is the last time he's helping him because Grisha has crossed the limit. Now he has sent a cop to the hospital with critical injuries. Despite this, Grisha seems to have no sense of guilt or remorse and continues to be a spoiled brat, asking cops to serve her even while locked in a cell. After bailing him out, Pavel orders Grisha to get his life together, threatening to cut him off. However, Grisha isn't afraid of his father's threats. Fed up with his son's rude and reckless behavior, Pavel looks for a way to improve Grisha. He visits his friend with benefits, TV producer Anastasia, to find comfort in her presence. He doesn't know what to do with his son anymore, and he can't even send him to the army because he already got him out of being recruited. Anastasia says she knows someone who used to work on horror movies which could help. His methods are unusual, but Pavel agrees to see him. Shortly after, the two go to his place, where they find the eccentric psychologist, Lev Arnoldovich, hanging from a rope around his neck, which is just an illusion. Arnoldovich primarily builds elaborate sets for TV and film companies. After showing Pavel the method he used with a smoker client, in which he pretends to cut his finger off, Pavel freaks out a little. He wants to leave, but Anastasia convinces him to at least hear Lev's plan for Grisha. Sometime later, Grisha is coming out of a club. He notices his car being towed and starts running after the tow truck, swearing at the driver. Unfortunately, in the process, he runs into what seems like an accident and passes out. He wakes up a few hours later in a stable wearing strange clothes. The stable boy, Artyom, tells him he must saddle the horses or their lord will get mad. Grisha doesn't understand what's happening, especially when foreman Avdy Mikhalik comes to drag him out, kicking and yelling at him for not following orders. At that moment, the landowner Dmitry Timofeev and his son, Alexei, show up and give Avdy a whip, which he uses once on Grisha for not following orders. Dmitry tells him to get the horse ready, or he'll get a worse punishment, so Artyom takes him back to the stable and shows him the saddles. But Grisha jumps through the window and runs away. As he runs, Grisha asks people for help, requesting a phone or even the police, but nobody knows what he's trying to say. The surrounding reality is too objective, and the people are too convincing. Grisha eventually realizes that he's a serf in this village, which seems to be in 1860s Russia, before the abolition of serfdom. Serfs are the poorest of the peasant class and are a type of enslaved person. Lords own the serfs who live on their lands and grow crops day and night. Eventually, he makes it to the estate borders and accidentally falls into a lake. So when he returns to the village to get dry clothes, he's captured by Avdy and taken to be hanged for having run away. He arrogantly demands to see a lawyer until he sees another peasant hanging dead from a rope. Now, his demeanor changes, and he begs for forgiveness. Fortunately, Dmitry's daughter Aglaya shows up and asks her dad to have mercy on the serfs because she's tired of all the killing. As it's her birthday, Dmitry agrees, and Grisha is allowed to live. Still stunned by the ordeal, he can't thank Aglaya for saving his life. A bird flies above them, then leaves and enters a giant windmill by the edge of the village. Surprisingly, they discover that the bird is a drone. The entire 19th century village is a skillful production of Anastasia and Arnoldovich, carried out with Pavel's money. Arnoldovich is in charge with the help of Anastasia, who uses her experience as a TV producer to keep the illusion going without any mistakes. There are cameras hidden everywhere in town, even in the trees, and there's always a sniper ready to shoot Grisha with a tranquilizer in case something goes wrong. The project could be a better recreation of 1860s Russia. Still, because Grisha needs to learn basic Russian history, he overlooks the many anachronisms around him. When the actors aren't working, they can come to mission control and refresh themselves. Meanwhile, Pavel is starting to wonder if he's done the right thing, but Arnoldovich convinces him that this is for Grisha's good. Later, Grisha spends some time alone in the stable, coming to terms with the fact that he's traveled in time and with his position as a serf. At the same time, they gave the actors the scripts for the next scene. The director reminds every one of the rules: women shouldn't shave their legs, men shouldn't shave their faces, and things like bras, underwear, earrings, and rings are forbidden. Alexei picks up his script after saying hello to his girlfriend, Liza, who's in charge of the horses and not acting. Over the next few days, Grisha starts living through an awful routine in the village. He has to wake up before dawn, eat broth with only flies as meat, work with horses he's scared of, use the forest as his bathroom, and get whipped every time he's disrespectful. One afternoon, Misha takes a break from work when he hears Aglaya crying. When he asks her what's wrong, she tells him that her father wants her to marry an old, wealthy man. However, Grisha doesn't sympathize, as he thinks it's a great idea because if the man is so old, he'll die soon, and Aglaya can have all the money to herself. It turns out that Arnoldovich's plan for Grisha to begin a relationship with Aglaya developed into a serf eloping with a lady and a complete reassessment of life attitudes. Sadly, the plan needs to be revised. One day, Grisha gets tired of eating the food and steals one of Lord's chickens. He asks Artyom to get him some tools to make soup, and Grisha ends up eating it all on his own instead of sharing it with Artyom, who does most of the work. He also uses the feathers to make himself a comfortable pillow. Later, when Avdi notices the missing chicken, he rounds up all the serfs and demands the thief come forward, threatening to punish a random serf otherwise. Expectedly, Grisha doesn't admit to stealing the chicken, so Avdi punishes the innocent Artyom. However, Grisha shamelessly watches as they drag Artyom away and punish him. Meanwhile, the lack of progress in Grisha's attitude makes Pavel increasingly impatient and restless. He also learns that Arnoldovich isn't Anna's former client but her former husband, making his mood worse. This revelation takes Pavel aback, as he has started to develop feelings for Anna. He confronts her about it, but she replies that she's not obligated to share intimate details about herself as they're just friends with benefits. Afterward, Artyom meets with Grisha and shows him the scars on his back, courtesy of the makeup department. However, the remorseless Grisha replies that he doesn't care and that Avdi chose to punish him. As the two talk, Grisha notices a village girl, Liza, getting off a horse. Surprisingly, while getting down, she exposes her modern panties. Grisha initially cracks a joke until it dawns on him that he just saw modern panties in the 19th century village. So, he tackles her to the ground and tries to look up at her skirt. But before he can do so, Artyom quickly pulls him off her. Despite this, the resilient Grisha still looks up at her dress and notices that she's not wearing any underwear. They then discover Liza removed her underwear before Grisha could get to her. After the incident, back in the control room, Pavel has had enough. He decides to shut down the project as he's not seeing any change in his son's behavior. Anna and Arnoldovich try to convince him to pull the plug without success. Meanwhile, seeing the reaction of those around him, Grisha suddenly realizes that he's gone too far. And for the first time in his life, he looks for Liza to apologize. She accepts the apology but promises to still be wary of him for a while. The interaction amazes Pavel, and he agrees to continue the project. Some days later, it's time to celebrate Ivan Kapala, a traditional holiday considered the most magical night of the year. Legends say that whoever you spend the night celebrating with will spend their whole life with you. At the party, Grisha teaches the musicians how to play the lambada and gets the villagers to form a conga line. Aglaya jumps into the line to tell Grisha that the idea of an arranged marriage is too much for her to handle, so she'll walk into the lake tonight. Grisha doesn't follow her to stop her. Instead, he finds Liza and starts telling her stories about technology in the future after she tells him she thinks he's a time traveler and feels sorry for him. Their chat is interrupted by Artyom, who, after several failed attempts to distract Grisha from Liz, mentions he saw Aglaya near the lake. Finally, Grisha realizes something and rushes to the lake to save Aglaya and take her back to the village. However, when she comes onto him, he turns her down and searches for Liza instead. She isn't at the party, so he goes to her house, where all the other actors hurry to hide before she opens the door. Grisha wants to spend the night in Liza's company to see if the legend will come true for them, but Liza isn't interested and closes the door in his face. The next day, Arnoldovich decides Liza will be Grisha's new love interest, so she becomes another actress on set. She doesn't like Grisha very much and won't accept kissing or sleeping with him. Still, she does want to help make him a better person, even if Anton, who plays Alexei, isn't delighted with seeing his girlfriend get involved like this. The production begins a new plot in the story. Alexei is found drunk downtown, having caused a lot of trouble and getting the sheriff hurt, thinking it was his right because he's a noble. Instead of feeling disgusted by him, Grisha gets jealous because he thinks Alexei had an enjoyable night out. Meanwhile, Anastasia and Arnoldovich start to get along again, and Pavel worries that they may get back together. Still, Arnoldovich finds this idea laughable because Anastasia loves Pavel. It's shocking news for him since he's always thought their relationship was only about sex. Now he has some serious thinking to do. At that moment, however, Grisha's demeanor changes when Dmitri wants him to take his son's place and get the punishment instead of him. At first, Grisha doesn't want to do it, but Dmitri offers him his freedom and good food in exchange, so he accepts. This time, he remembers to share the food with Artyom. Later, Grisha gets whipped 24 times, but Pavel can't bring himself to watch it on the screen, so he leaves the room. Anastasia follows him and comforts him by proving how well Arnoldovich's plans work, as his finger-cutting trick helped her quit smoking. After the punishment, Grisha goes to the landowner's house to ask for the papers that would grant him his freedom. Alexei takes him in because Dmitri isn't there, but he throws him on the floor, kicks him, and spits on him while calling him an idiot, all the while thinking they would set him free. Grisha stands and clenches his fists, about to defend himself, but decides to leave the house without a word, to Arnoldovich's disappointment. From then on, Grisha continues to work as a stable boy, but he also starts spending more time with Liza, improving his way of life, and falling in love with her. One afternoon, while they're walking together, they see a bird flying in a peculiar pattern. It's a drone that has lost control. While the producers get the sniper ready in case it falls, Liza tries to distract Grisha by telling him she's seen the bird since she was a kid. She believes it to be her guardian angel. Fortunately, there's no need for the sniper. The technicians regain control of the bird and get it out of there. Meanwhile, Alexei and Aglaya are both annoyed with how things are going. Aglaya can't believe Liza replaced her, and Alexei doesn't like seeing his girlfriend spend so much time with another man. The two end up having intercourse inside a carriage, and Grisha and Liza accidentally find them. While Liza is distraught that her boyfriend cheated on her, Grisha believes that Aglaya and her brother Alexei are having an incestuous affair. Because of this, Arnoldovich fires the actors. That night, Liza is distraught, so Grisha surprises her with a candlelit dinner in the now decorated stables to cheer her up. Afterward, they go stargazing, and Grisha admits that if he were free, he would marry Liza. Remembering how the promise of his freedom tricked him, he confesses that he did want to punch Alexei but didn't because Grisha saw himself when he looked at him. Touched by how much he's grown, Liza kisses him. In the real world, Polina, who plays Aglaya, is on a popular talk show and tells everyone that they took Grisha and tortured him for fun. The police announce that they will be investigating it, and when Pavel sees this, he panics and wants to shut it all down before they arrive. Now, with time running out, Arnoldovich and the writers make an emergency plan to change Grisha's attitude. They plan for the Golden Horde, the Mongols, to invade 19th century Russia. However, Grisha overlooks this anachronism. Soon, the Mongols arrive and kidnap Liza. Still, instead of saving her, Grisha reverts to his cowardly ways and runs away, seemingly dooming the project. However, he soon realizes that he has always run away from problems and abandoned his loved ones. Hence, he returns to the scene with renewed motivation, bravely fights off the invaders, and rescues Liza. The two then ride away on a horse just before the police arrive and raid the set. Fortunately, since Grisha has already left and all the other people are actors, they assume the project is a historical film set and go. Elsewhere, Grisha rides his horse until he unexpectedly reaches a gas station. He's taken aback by the modern world. Still, before he can make sense of the situation, the sniper shoots him with a tranquilizer, knocking him out. Upon waking up, they told him that he had fallen into a coma for 3 months and that all his imaginations were mere hallucinations. While his character development remains, Grisha realizes that Liza is never real. As a result, he falls into depression. One day, he meets Polina and Anton, the actors who played Aglaya and Alexei, at a club. Seeing his miserable state, they take pity on him and reveal everything. The following day, they take Grisha to the ranch where the production rented the horses and Liza works. When he finally sees her again, he asks her if what she said is true and if it has all been natural for her. When she confirms it, the couple kisses, beginning a new relationship. Sometime later, Grisha takes Liza to his father's wedding at Anastasia, where he thanks him for putting him in this crazy project and making a better person out of him. Soon, they drag another oligarch's son into the village, and Grisha helps with their rehabilitation. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.